Sweet home, Chicago. All right, Chicago, Olympia Fields, FedEx Cup, leg 2, 70 players remain. We'll break it down. I'm Geoff Fienberg, here for OddsChecker. Don't forget, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Who you think's going to take this thing down this week? Normally, this event in the FedEx Cup, you could make the case is the strongest field of the entire year. Literally the top 70 golfers. It's almost like the Masters without the 40 riffraff players. Unfortunately, this year, I think the field strength isn't as strong as it should be. You could say, Fienberg, you're just like a Fowler, Fleetwood fanboy, and because they're not there, you say that. But, you know, Spieth, Rose, obviously Brooks is injured. A handful of good players didn't make it. Sergio Stenson. A lot of the Europeans got the short end of the stick as it pertained to the FedEx Cup because of COVID and the layoff. And a lot of those guys, they don't do any swing season. You know, they're home with their families or, you know, whatever, their native lands in that time of year normally, I should say. And they sort of come around. They don't really start to show up in America till the Florida swing. And the Florida swing was essentially when COVID hit, so a lot of those guys didn't get enough PGA Tour events to maybe muck some early points that would have had them in the top 70 in ties. Nonetheless, top 70 in ties, FedEx Cup, no cut, top 70, I don't know what I'm talking about, ties. Excited for this one. I don't want to sound like Brooks Koepka here, though. I will say only 22 players can win this event. I'll go out on that limb. I don't know, just look at the odds board and cut it off. That's sort of where I have. So I'm going to pick from that sort of top of the group. The big boys seem to eat at these events. Keegan Bradley, though, did win the BMW. You could argue he's one of the real lone outliers in recent history in the FedEx Cup of, like, not really good. Obviously, Keegan Bradley's good. You know where I'm going with this, though. High-end pro golfers have been winning these FedEx Cup events, much like the WGC events. It's just been a trend. We continue to see it, and that's how I'll bet them, as I have in the past, and until I see otherwise, that's how I will continue to do it. Olympia Fields, Chicago, a course that is part of the U.S. Open rotation. Last time we were here for a U.S. Open was 2003. Not exactly sure when there's plans to go back. That being said, we've seen these FedEx Cup events show up at U.S. Open major type venues and play significantly easier than any time we go there for majors. There seems to be an obvious reason for that. The PGA Tour, the FedEx Cup, they seem to want a birdie party. Obviously, DJ was an insane outlier last week, and we can get to that in a minute. But they're not looking for some grind fest for these FedEx Cup events. They're putting the best players out there, and they're saying, entertain us. Entertain us. So I don't expect Olympia Fields to play like it has, or maybe even in that 2015 U.S. Amateur that a lot of big names got some runs here in. Scheffler, Rahm, Bryson, a lot of big names have played this course, but I don't really hold any, course history much weight for anybody here. That being said, par 70, nearly 7,400 yards. That is a brute, reminiscent of where we were for the PGA Championship a few weeks ago at Harding Park. Very few players on tour can sort of handle par 70 at that distance. 7 par 4s over 450 yards. Key proximity is those 170, 190, 200 yard irons. Those, like a lot of weeks, the best ball strikers will probably win. Be accurate off the tee, but I don't expect it to be totally penal if you're going to be wide. So I do expect the big boys shouldn't really have a problem. And I, in many ways, would expect them to compete for this win. Looking at the odds this week, Dustin Johnson, he almost feels unbettable now. I mean, the numbers that you're seeing at Dustin at the very top in that 8-1 range, but you absolutely have to shop it on OddsChecker, because even to pull an 850 versus the 8, why not go there? John Rahm coming in next at 10. followed by Justin Thomas, who I almost did make a wager on this week at 14-1. Of those three that may have separated themselves in form at the moment and super elite status, I would play Justin Thomas, but I'm not. Still a bit stung from last week. I think I said it on this video for OddsChecker. Guys, I think I got a little, I don't know about cocky, but I tried to call my shot. DJ made perfect sense. It was an identical situation to the PGA Championship that we had a couple of weeks ago. He was in that 20-1 range, 22-1 range, and he does what those guys that are at 10, 12-1 do. He does it. And his win equity and contend equity, you could argue, is equal to all those guys. It really is when you break down the seasons as they finish. But he's, for some reason was still being left behind them. And I got cocky. I just, FedEx Cup, I'll call my shot with Bryson. Very undisciplined, silly move. My first instinct of the week was DJ. So last week hurt. It's been a long time since someone else, you take the L's when you bet outright golfers. But, and there will be some pain. But last week hurt. DJ's my guy, and he was my first instinct, and I don't know. I lost some discipline there. But I don't know. Gotta just keep doing what we do. Guys in contention, hope to cash Sunday tickets. I didn't mean to mope about that for a couple minutes, but, the guy shot 30 under. Ridiculous. Here we are. Rory McIlroy. Let's start this sucker off. We've been waiting for Rory to peak. Rory says he's lacking intensity without the fans, which is ridiculous when you consider the stakes they're playing for. But the stakes are higher. And Rory won that big briefcase of money last year at the FedEx Cup. So he knows all the fun things he can buy when you add that to the account balance. And hopefully he's hungry to do it again. 18-1 is the number. It seems to be a consensus number out there this week. There are a couple 16s when checking the OddsChecker grid. Let's avoid those. Rory McIlroy, 18-1. Elite Drift. Elite Drift has been very kind to golf bettors this year. You could say there are 6 at this moment, maybe super elite golfers in the world. No disrespect to Colin Morikawa. Maybe I'd make him the 7th. But, Dustin, Rory, Justin, Rahm, Bryson, Webb Simpson. Now, since we've had the restart, I think everyone in there has won, but Rory, so let's go, hasn't won in the 2020 season. Let's go, Rory. But Dustin was 28-30-1 at the Travelers. Now he's 8-1. That was his biggest drift. John Rahm at Memorial crossed over 20. That's where he won. Webb Simpson at Heritage was like 28-1. Had some crazy drift there, a big number because the field was strong. That's where he won. Obviously Bryson cashed his short ticket like 6-1, not in Minnesota, in Detroit, and Justin was fantastic and won St. Jude. That was about 12-1. But these super elite players getting the big drift, that's where you want to bet. It was almost like Dustin last week. He's a super elite. He's 20-1. Those guys are 12. Rory being 18 is almost like that. And you're like, Fienberg, he's still not over 20. Like, what kind of drift are you talking about? Rory at 18-1 is drift. It's real drift. Anyone that's done this for any amount of time, you could argue now we're finally getting some value on Rory. Fienberg, he's been horrible. He doesn't feel right. He finished T65 last week. Or right there, made the cut on the numbers, sloppy weekend, horrible. What could you be seeing that could lead you to it? Well, as my boy Pat Mayo pointed out, of that field last week, he was 10th in his iron play. What's been holding back Rory since this entire restart? His iron play. Rory had 7 top 5s, like in a row before the shutdown. Now he's played a bunch of events. We're going to get back there. I'm thinking it's going to be this week. His driver completely abandoned him last week, losing strokes off the tee in all 4 rounds. That's impossible. That might never happen again. Literally. So I'm going to go back with Rory. I want those irons. The iron showing life is all I need to want to go to the window with Rory at 18-1. That's where I'm going to go. You check the OddsChecker grids. It seems to be the consensus. I'll avoid the 16 certainly. Getting in on that 18. Following that up with Xander Schauffele. Other than his consistency, I don't really have the stats to back it up. He's just incredibly consistent. And I would argue comp courses, Bethpage Black, Harding Park, he has played well at both of them. So I think they both work for me here. There are very few players, finite amount of players who can handle these par 70, nearly 7,400 yard courses. Xander is one of them. A no-cut event. He's certainly due to pop. Much like Rory hasn't won in the calendar year, the PGA season of 2020. These guys are due. Certainly second place in last year's FedEx Cup. This is his time of year. He's won the Tour Championship. He knows how he needs to set himself up before Eastlake. Xander Schauffele coming in at 18-1. Again, avoid the 16s. DraftKings, BetMGM offering those 18-1s. Let's cash those. You can maybe wait on it, see how you feel. I don't think that number is going to get shorter. It'd be almost impossible. But how do I put this? You can even make the case that Xander is not even a great bet this week. You should even come in behind and be betting a Daniel Berger, a Colin Morikawa, who you might have more confidence in winning, getting a better number. Webb Simpson, all very fair points. I'm going to the window with Xander Schauffele. I don't think I'm going to be there at Winged Foot, so this might be the last chance for me and Xander, at least pre-US Open, for him to get that win. So I'm on Xander this week. Moving on, Adam Scott. Big discrepancy on the OddsChecker grid here. You can get a 45 at DraftKings, Sugar House, 888 Sport. There are a couple 33s out there. I don't even want to do those books disservice by name dropping them. But how can you bet a guy at 33 when he's 45? That's the importance of OddsChecker. Oh, he's got to be shopping, getting that best number. Adam Scott had a pretty ugly weekend last week in Boston. We'll own that. But what I love about Adam Scott this week, two things. Let me put it this way. In that key proximity range, he might be one of the best players on the planet with those long irons. And as I mentioned, 7 par 4s over 450 yards. This season, he is top 5 on tour on par 4s over 450 yards. He's playing 2 weeks in a row, folks. This is like almost like a unicorn of Adam Scott. Obviously, he could play well again and be playing next week. But this guy, I don't know. He's a legend, in my opinion. He just can parachute out of a helicopter after not playing for literally half a year and win golf tournaments. So now I'm getting Adam Scott, having played last week, playing again, premier event, long course, par 70. I think it sets up incredibly well for Scott. I sort of even got lost in my notes as it pertains to him because I could just riff about him. I think he could win Winged Foot. And part of this bet this week, because, how next week sets up, it's kind of annoying, guys. The pre-scores for the Tour Championship. It's a hard thing to bet. We'll probably be more in on the props. It'll be hard. It's hard for guys that'll be down there to actually win, even though Scott could be playing. So this is kind of the last real event before Winged Foot for essentially everybody. The money is real next week, but the event and its gimmick setup is kind of hard from a betting perspective. So that's kind of all I mean. I think Scott can win Winged Foot US Open at the end of September, and I got to protect that bet also. So I'm in on Adam Scott this week, 45-1. Following that one up, Tyrrell Hatton. 2 fabulous rounds last week in Boston. He was on the card. There were just a bit of ugly in between that. But immaculate ball striker, I do worry, much like his struggles at the PGA Championship a couple weeks ago, this course could be too long for him. That is a concern, guys. Not every golfer's perfect. At 45 to 1, that's the number. Avoid the 33s. BetMGM, pop in that 45, much like Adam Scott. 45, 33. That's easy math. When you hit your golfer, you better get all they're going to get, because the wins are kind of hard to come by. So find that 45, BetMGM, when I'm looking at the OddsChecker grid. Best number available on Hatton. But, so as I was saying, Harding Park got the best of him. His long irons, though, still remain immaculate. One of the best long iron players in the world, in that 175, 200 yard range. He remains elite. So this could be too high praise, like really, really high praise. But in many ways, he's like a poor man's Webb Simpson. Not the longest off the tee, but when he's in the fairway, you're in big trouble, because those irons are out of this world. And I said poor man, and he's double the price. And I like Hatton. His results have been outstanding since the restart. I saw the life last week that I wanted, and I feel at 45 to 1, he's worthy of going back to the windows with. One more, guys. I don't even know if we can count these as official, but since this is the last official event of the 2020 PGA Tour season, we'll just ride this one out. And then as we go forward, we'll maybe just have my own Finau units count, because I am stuck. I'm in quicksand. I think he's elite, not super elite. I think he's elite. And I can't help myself. I almost feel like, though, it should be its own category in counting my units, so we know just how deep in the hole I will be when he actually might ever make it up for me. But we'll do that, I think, for the official 2021 PGA Tour season, which actually starts in a couple weeks. So for this one, he'll, on the card with an asterisk, I'm pot committed. 35 to 1, though. Not the greatest number, but again, I'm pot committed. That comes from BetMGM. That is the strongest number on the board. The comp courses I mentioned. Okay, guys, I know. Here he goes again. Listen, I told you he could do anything Bryson does. Just miss the cut together. What did I say last week? I like Finau. I loved Bryson. Anything Bryson does to me, Finau can do. Minus the winning part, it seems. That was a very accurate statement. Bryson missed the cut. What did Finau do? He missed the cut. Very frustrating. But I've seen him rebound instantly from bad iron weeks. He was horrible with his irons at the WGC in Memphis the week before Harding Park, where he came fourth at that brute of a course. So I'm back. As we were saying, 4th at Harding Park, guys, a 12th at Bethpage Black. He has set up well for the comp courses. Remember that Adam Scott, was one of the top 5 players in the past couple months in that par 4s over 450 yards? Well, Tony Finau's in there too, friends. And there's 7 of them here. Can't get off now. He's 28th in the FedEx Cup, so he better figure out something just to be in East Lake next week. Yeah. Don't think I don't got a 60 to 1 at Wingfoot either, folks. Listen, I'm beholden to it now. Starting in a couple weeks, as I joked, we can maybe track him independently of everything else I am doing. Yeah. I don't know. Even I'm rattled after, recording that I'm betting it again. But I am. I'm Geoff Fienberg. I love doing these videos for OddsChecker. Subscribe so they can drop right into your feed, and leave a comment. How you think, you can leave a comment how you think my picks are going to do this week, but how about you tell me who you think's going to win? So at least we can hold my picks up to something else. Have a great week, guys. This should be one of the best events of the year. 70 guys, no cut. Let's give her. I'll be back tomorrow with some props, and I'm excited because literally, I think the Louis top 20, didn't save much. It was literally the only thing I think I hit last week in the vids. So, Back tomorrow. I've had success in those prop videos, so I look forward to hunting that prop card tonight and putting something fun out there for you guys. All the best. All the best. Gotta work on those clothes. I'm Geoff Fienberg for OddsChecker. We'll see you tomorrow.